All right. What's up, y'all? Welcome to another episode of Salty Sundays. You may recognize this man from around town. Porta Pints, the bowling alley, Sutter Coast Hospital. He's a man about town. And this is the second time we've had him on Salty Sundays, if you guys been keeping up. So, welcome back to the podcast, Dr. John Kirk.
Thank you very much. I don't even know how this happened, but here I am.
Here you are, and we're happy that you are here.
It's a beautiful thing. I had the privilege, I think, of doing the first one with you.
You really did, yeah. That was amazing.
And I had no idea what to expect. I've been watching, not all, but most of them actually be produced, and have been very impressed with you. You're good at what you do.
Thank you. Yeah, you're always kind of behind the scenes, and you're a huge reason why we were even able to do the podcast in the first place. Actually, if it wasn't for you, we probably wouldn't even be doing it.
You would find a way. Where there's a will, there's a way, right?
Well, there is a will, there is a way, but sometimes it takes another person believing in your idea to help you make it a reality, and I felt like that's kind of what I needed. I was on the swing, but I needed a little push, and you did that.
I appreciate that. That makes me happy, because it's kind of, I think, what drives me. I want to find, it's not potential, it's passion.
Right.
It's desire.
Yeah.
Everybody's got potential.
Yeah, I felt really comfortable expressing. I think I felt that within you, and I thought, if there's anybody I could tell this idea to who's going to take it seriously and be able to sense, what I'm trying to talk about, I knew it was going to be you, and it was you, and it worked out really well. And we've been, you obviously did the initial investment to help us get our equipment set up. But you also gave us a place to set up the equipment and just kind of rock and roll and do our thing. And damn, here we are.
It was almost the reason why we do and have the things that we have. It's to build. It's a studio,
Yeah.
Literally kind of a studio, right?
Yeah. I love this. I honestly love background. I love the way that it's set up in here.
It's simple.
Yeah, and this is where I do my stand-up comedy. So
it's true.
Really on this stage is where a lot of my performance, happens.
Yeah.
So it's
great.
Great.
It's amazing, actually. This should be an interview about you, actually, because to be honest, you're one of the more cool people I've met. Not just here, but just in general.
Thank you.
You've got a really cool, from what I know, really cool history. I mean, it's not cool like easy. It's like serious shit, but something that makes you who you are right now. But the fact is, you had a lot of choices. We've talked about this. It's living in the moment.
Yeah.
You're struggling.
Totally.
Yeah, you're struggling with your demons, like we all do, right? We all do.
Big time.
And here we are at a pub, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of demons that come in the front door, They're sometimes with the person, sometimes they are the person.
Yeah.
And people work through those in various ways. I'm just impressed. You've turned out, seemingly, to be a really cool dude, and you've got so much gift.
Well, I appreciate that. I think that, I did have, an interesting upbringing. I don't think that anyone would be surprised, given my upbringing, if I was in prison or, strung out on the streets or anything like that. I don't think that it would.
It wouldn't surprise anybody.
Yeah, but, am I perfect in any way? No, nobody is, but me especially. I know that I have demons. I've battled addiction. I've battled trying to be a more honest person, but I've always been very open and honest about my own issues. I've never claimed to be something that I wasn't, and I never will claim to be something that I'm not. I'm not a horrible person, by any stretch of the imagination, and I'm just a regular guy who's trying. I do my best.
You do. You do a great job, dude.
Well, thank you.
Honestly, this is this podcast that you've put together is pretty cool.
Thank you.
I see big things, not just for you, not just for this podcast, but just you're gonna give back. What is it? Pay that movie, Pay It Forward.
Pay It Forward.
Right? Was that
Paid in full?
That was actually that was actually a person's life, right? And they made a movie.
Yeah.
out of it.
That
That was a cool movie.
I love books that turn into movies. I think books that turn into movies are the best movies. Like,
the books usually are better than movies, but sometimes the movies are amazing.
If a story is good enough to just be text on paper,
yeah,
then making it to a movie just makes it that much more special. You know, you think of all like the greatest films, and usually they're great books, with the exception of a few. I mean, the Coen brothers, anything they do is amazing. Those guys are
There's some truth to that.
The best writers. A good story and good writing, man, that's just everything in a movie.
Yeah. It makes sense then that you would also go into this realm. You have passion for movies. You have passion for video. You have passion for interactions. You generally like people.
Oh yeah, no, I've always loved talking to people. I've always loved figuring them out, finding out what they are about. And I think maybe it's because I've spent so much time being lost myself that hearing someone else kind of makes you feel a little bit less lost. You know, it makes you feel a little bit more normal.
Yeah.
You know, hearing about the life story of other people, you know. So I've always loved having deep conversations with people and hearing about their dreams and aspirations and what makes them tick, what makes them happy, you know, what gets them off.
Before we started, we started talking about God and the God being.
Yes.
And I mean, that's a serious conversation.
That is.
And we got deep in like 2-3 minutes. There was no animosity. There was no. It was a learning experience. You know, learning how we perceive the world and our version of God. And
definitely,
it was powerful, dude.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not ashamed to admit it. I'm agnostic. You know, I believe that there is a God, and I believe that if you do good things and you try to behave well in this life, that you tap into whatever that is. You know, I don't know about the particulars other than that, but I know that when you're trying to be more honest and you try to do things for your fellow brother, you know, bettering society, I think that you're tapped into something that is deeper than just, you know, the superficial, I don't know, like wants and needs of a being on this planet.
That's kind of a Buddhist principle, right? You know, life is suffering, right?
Yeah.
And your process of going to reach nirvana is something that has to go through a set of steps of acceptance. And
Eightfold Path.
Yes. And then that whole joy of being present is something that we have also talked about. And I wanted to mention that. Can I?
Yeah.
So I have this theory. I have a lot of theories. So I got 2 theories right now. One is, I don't know if it's a theory, it's an idea. One is rising tides raise all ships, right? That's kind of why, it's kind of why we're here in a sense. It's why I wanted to see you succeed doing something that filled you with passion.
Right.
Because it helped a little bit to get the tide of Crescent City and
definitely.
And you as an individual just a little higher, a little bit better off. Not a tidal wave, not a tsunami.
Just a swelling of the sea.
Yeah, a nudge. And I see such a swelling here in this community. I've been here 3 years, and I'm just seeing more and more positive influences happening. Doesn't mean we don't have a lot of challenges. Doesn't mean that there's not a lot of work to do.
Right.
But it's just such a cool thing. So that's one of these theories that I kind of operate around or live within. And then the other is the concept.
Sneaker wave, by the way. Oh, like it, love it. It's delicious.
Is the second half the better half? Oh.
Athletic Brew.
Athletic. Don't I look athletic?
Athletic Brew, brought to you by Athletic Brew.
You know, we didn't get paid for that, but I think they would appreciate it. This is an interesting company. So I put it in here because I'm a little bit embarrassed drinking a non-alcoholic beer, but being a doctor, the joy of my life. You know, you've got to be careful.
You do.
Be safe.
And
so we recruited, I kind of perfected this during Lent for a couple years now, but no alcohol during Lent. It leads you to try a lot of non-alcoholic beers if you like the taste of beer. If you don't, then you just, it's no big deal, right? But I like the taste of beer. So this has an actual beer taste that is good. It's not a bad drink. I like an IPA. I like a balanced but good hoppy drink.
Yeah.
Right?
A little astringent.
Is that drink, and it's kind of remarkable that. Well,
heck yeah, man!
I wish I would have invented it.
So I want to get you to talking about this. So
yes.
I could feel it.
So
we're talking about the second half, the better half.
Thank you. That's the second theory. The second half, the better half. You brought me back.
I had to, man, because I wanted to talk.
I was
about
just
that.
on. I was ready to go.
Oh yeah, you were. You would probably would have talked about this company for another 30 minutes.
And they still wouldn't have paid us. Should I be concerned about that?
I think that I think you guys should pay us. I think you guys should shower us with gifts.
At least become a sponsor of Salty Sundays.
Tens of people are going to see this, so you should definitely watch it.
Tons.
Depends how much they weigh. All right. Anyway.
I think you'd be surprised. But anyways,
yeah, we do get a pretty good. Our viewership has been steadily inclining.
You're doing what you need to do.
Yeah,
that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
So long story short, the second half of the better half is sort of my true philosophy of life. It's when you realize that living in the moment is all that you have. Just do it. Choose what you want as you're living your moments and how you want to respond to them. Simple to say, just be now, be here now. It's been written before,
For
the
sure.
Power of Now.
Yes.
There's so many books out there, so many great pundits.
But it is so important.
Well, it's the only thing you have. Like, why stress about stuff? That anxiety you have in the future, that fear of the test not turning out that you've already taken and you can't influence anymore, or whether or not the study, your medical issues is going to be positive or negative. Those are all things that make sense that you might think about stressing, but it doesn't affect anything but your present, and it almost always, tiger being an exception if you have to outrun one, almost always decreases your living experience and your potential and your possibility.
That's like Stoic philosophy 101, right? Like that's like Epictetus is like saying.
See, that's what I also like him. He's very smart.
He's saying we often suffer twice, once in reality and once in imagination.
But we sometimes choose to do it all the time.
Oh yeah, and that's
not living.
And it's like in this moment, right? An earthquake could happen. It's a perfect example. An earthquake could happen any moment, right? I could sit here and watch the news, eyes glued. When's an earthquake going to happen? I'm not living my life. I don't want to go to the park. What if an earthquake happens? I'm not going to be around my stuff. What if, I can't go there? But it's like, and then an earthquake does happen. Well, now you've suffered twice. You suffered for the entirety of the time before it and the time that it happened. Or what if it never happens? Then you never will stop suffering. You'll always worry about it. So I think that it's hard to do. I think it's easier to say, but I think that if you take it seriously and you practice it in your daily life, I think that it really is the only way to live peacefully, or at least in tune.
It's definitely probably the most productive way to live, because then your energy, whatever you have, let's say you have an ailment in your life, you were born with a congenital deformation, you didn't have arms.
Yeah.
They were stubs, right? That's not a great place to go. People do wondrous things, amazing things despite that, right? But people also suffer. Mm-hmm. Woe is me, why me? That's a thing you can learn as you grow, right?
Yeah.
We can choose how we experience the lack of our arms. We can choose how we experience
the suffering of the moment.
But suffering is inevitable. It happens. It's process. And then expectation is the other piece of the second half. Well, if you don't have to be really worried about stuff anymore, you don't have to set expectations.
Right.
That's different in a sense than setting goals. Goals are you doing what you want to do. It's you doing a podcast, right?
Yeah.
And then expectations are, well, I should have it. I expect to be better. It's not really believing you're better. It's not asking for that. Now.
Yeah.
Be better now. Anyways, we wax poetic and stoic at the same time.
I think suffering is a spectrum. You can be beautiful. Your parents are beyond wealthy. You have everything that you've ever wanted. But there's something in your life that is like a dull, aching, chipping away at your moment, at being in the moment. Or you could be born in a third world country, disease-ridden, people are dying all around you. I think that humans are going to find a place for their mind to go to, like it's a spectrum, just because someone seemingly has it all from the outside looking in, right, doesn't mean that they're not suffering on the inside just as much as someone else. Now, objectively, you could say, oh, that person has it way worse. Of course, objectively, but looking at it from a personal level, a subjective level, it's like everyone is suffering.
And that's something we actually talked about earlier too. You mentioned that you're basically honestly being yourself. You are being internally consistent, is what I call it. It doesn't matter what your viewpoints are. You're entitled to the viewpoints. Thank God for America and our Constitution. Right? We can choose to say within reason and express who we are.
Yeah,
that's a blessing. That's an incredible thing. But it's all relative, because then we have these philosophies of what we think is right. And instead of just internally accepting and acting on that, we want to proselytize and teach others our way.
Right.
And that's a huge problem.
Yeah, because if the buck ended with, these are my viewpoints, this is my expression, I'll express it, and you can have yours. If it ended there, we wouldn't have any problems. Problem starts to become when I go, well, you need to not only accept my way of life, but you need to embrace it and live it for yourself. That's when people start to have issue, whether it's left or right. Nobody wants that. Everyone wants to live their own life on their own terms, come to whatever conclusions they want to come to, and they should be able to, as long as those conclusions don't hurt or interfere with the lives of those around them.
And therein lies the rub, because when one gets into these discussions of different, sometimes polarizing perceptions, one argues the point as though you need to teach the other person or prove somehow that you're correct.
Yeah.
Your viewpoint is correct. It's
right.
how you see things. It doesn't mean that it's going to be something you can make correct for another person's viewpoint. And it's just, it's amazing to me how egos then, like you come to a bar, you get a little too much alcohol, you start in a conversation, and then the fists are throwing because people don't have checks and balances. Take the alcohol out of it, you still have stupid people doing stupid things all the time.
Right.
In the interest of trying to prove themselves right.
Right. Yeah, trying to affirm to themselves, at the same time trying to show the tribe that their way is the way. Oh, I have the way. None of us have the way. No one's ever going to have the way. Fight Club, I can never get this quote right, but he goes, self-improvement. Oh yeah, this is self-improvement is just mental masturbation. And that's all it is. There's very few rules. I think that Buddhism is got it right. And that's just another viewpoint, right?
I have a book.
But I think that, living in the moment, being free from judgment, trying to obtain a level of freedom from judgment and embracing your suffering, I think that's pretty much like the one true path that you could be on. And I think that should be the goal for everybody. But anyway,
see, and that's a beautiful thing, because I know we become very philosophical today.
We did, we are.
It's kind of my nature.
Philosophical
I live there a lot, so my actions are focused around this. This whole discussion is why I do what I do.
Yeah.
In a global sense,
Yeah, hell yeah. No, I think it's good. But let's bring it a little bit. Let's get out of the weeds a little bit. We've properly discussed the inner intricacies of our minds, and let's talk about your new business that you got opening up.
Porta Pints at the Pop.
Porta Pints.
Pop at the Port.
Pop at
Pops
the Port.
At the Port. Porta Pints.
Was popping at the port.
At the harbor. So the name is
Hops
not
at the harbor.
Absolutely definitive, but it was, and I think still the leading one is Pops at the Port. But we will be Porta Pints. It may be Porta Pints 2.
Yeah, I love that.
Pops at the Port. I don't know, but we're designing the sign right now because of the joy of the permit process.
Yeah.
Shall I talk about that?
Let's talk about it. Let's get into it.
Let's do this. So we had a series of discussions with the harbor, and ultimately in December of last year, we agreed on a lease for the old England Marine building.
Okay.
So that was the process. We had some discussions about the building and the process and how that would go, and how permitting is needed, and kind of a lot of good, favorable thoughts that were going to allow us to get started pretty quickly. And so we had hoped that we would be done early and maybe even open. There was a fantasy at one point by March 17th, of course.
Of course, that date is today.
Yes, today is.
No, it is April.
April 14th.
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
So we had hoped, but we haven't even started building yet. And the reason is that the discussion wasn't quite exactly the way it worked out, and we not only did we need a permit, which makes sense to me, from the county as it turned out, but we also needed a coastal commission permit, which, if any of you out there know, coastal commission permits are not easily accomplished, and certainly are not timely accomplished. However, that said, I've learned more about, I think, these types of permitting processes and governmental, I don't want to say over-involvement, but that's what this has become in a sense.
Yeah.
In the interest of doing the right thing, they are jumping through, in my impression, and those that we've spoken to with better sense and more experience, they're interpreting the process of permitting this particular build as the most conservative, most restrictive, and most challenging of all options.
Jeez.
Causing us to spend more money and
Right.
more time.
More time.
It's just kind of the nature.
And time is money.
Right. It's why a lot of things don't get done, because it adds a level of cost and structural issues that are problematic for many people, particularly in a place where the economics are not super strong. We don't have a lot of wealthy people here.
Luckily, tourism season's coming around.
Well, but, and here is the point. So now that they have dragged this process through, and I truly have participated in it extremely efficiently. Case in point, there's no living architect in the county of Del Norte, California. No living architect. Think about that. Now, if there is, and you're out there, please respond, check in, email. What do we do on a podcast? How do you respond to the podcast? Comment. We need to
Comment
know
your name.
if you're living.
Let us know.
And you're here and you're an architect. So I had to get my architect from Napa to come up here and hang out with me. Thankfully, he's a friend and a cool dude. And so he did. And
yeah, he was a cool guy. I met him.
Cool guy. He's still alive. He's cool.
He's still a cool guy.
He's coming back, too. He's coming back. I'm trying to get him to move here. We need an architect in Del Norte.
Yeah.
We should interview him about why he's not here yet.
Yeah, we should talk to him now. We should really put the pressure on.
So long story short, I'm getting waxing poetic. We've got all the stuff into the Coastal Commission. There's a few little loose ends. The latest is a sign permit. And I knew that there were sign permits, but when we first got it, we were told we could put a sign on the building, and we didn't need a permit for that sign as long as it was X, Y, or Z, and there were some certain codifications. We were perfectly interested in doing all that. Not going to happen. No, that's another 2 months and a use permit, and it's just, there's thresholds, and that's just the way it works. I'm okay with that. But they did this thing called the local coastal program here that they've done up and down the coast for the Coastal Commission to make it easier to have these types of things done and built. Things that were sensible, that were outside of like the tidelands, or affecting the egress and ingress to a beach, or the things that will affect the population of fishes because you're doing waste. I mean, things that are obvious, right? Well, this harbor development, particularly the one we're doing, but almost any of the space within this, is the quintessential reason why the local coastal program was written. But they're not honoring that. They, the Coastal Commission, is looking at the property and saying it is in their purview, because in the old days, the first, quote, street closest to the ocean was within the Coastal Commission's purview all the way up and down the whole coast.
Okay.
So here, that would have been at one point 101.
Right.
Right. Now there are
the
other
old 101.
streets.
Yeah.
Right. There are raised levels. There's a new harbor. It's the structural elements have changed there such that nothing that they had intended with the local coastal program should apply to this particular parcel.
Mm-hmm.
It should be the local coastal program. Thus, it should be managed locally. I'm the scapegoat. It's never been used here in this fashion ever. And so they're going conservative. This is my take on things. They're going conservative, making me jump through all the hoops, but theoretically are going to give me a waiver. But in that, they've already bumped it a month ahead because they only vote on this once a month.
Yeah.
It's just the nature of the hoops.
Oof.
So if I get a waiver,
Like you're playing hula hoop. Not playing hula hoop, but
I get to do
operating
it
one.
locally. If I don't get a waiver, then I have to do it a full permit, pay 20 times more in permit charges, and do it with the Coastal Commission, which is exceptionally unforgiving and and inefficient. I won't do it. I'll be out on record.
Yeah.
That will not happen.
Well, let us hope then.
At the end of the day, though, I believe the project is great, and the process has just been tough to get there.
Yeah.
But I'm losing 2 to 3 months, if not the entire summer revenue.
Tourism season.
Yeah.
Wow. So that's a lot.
It's
So
painful.
there's a lot going on, and we're really hoping that
I
they'll.
haven't even told you what we're doing.
Yeah, that'll. Well, I hope that it all works out because from what you've explained and how we need something like that at the harbor, and I think that it would just do so amazing. And
Let's talk about what it is. I've put a negative energy to it, and I want to qualify that. I don't intrinsically think that I shouldn't have to do what is the righteous thing to do through the process of permitting. I truly think that's not what I'm saying. I want to do the right thing. The problem is they're making the right thing. They're making up the rules as we go by their interpretation of something that shouldn't be interpreted in the way it is, and likely will be changed because there are streets between there. They can use that as an interpretation. Anyways, don't get me started. So let's talk about what.
Yeah, let's talk about what it is. So, pop at the
Pops
harbor.
at the port.
Pops at the port. What is it? What's the goal? What's the dream? What's the vision?
So it's a rectangle. It's going to be a place of fun, a place to enjoy, a place to drink, a place to relax, hang out, play some games, play some pool, a real billiards hall, some competition pool tables, something that you can get behind with a tournament. Got some shuffleboard there. We're going to have 2 axe throwing lanes of all things in the middle of the building. That's kind of weird. We're going to have to figure all that out, but we've got it kind of set up and designed. And some old arcade games, some classics. Still open for, put that on the podcast response. What games do you want to see there? Looking 6 to 8 games.
Salty Sundays, what games do we want to see at the new Port-a-Pints at the port? I mean, come on. Let's be honest here. Some old school Tekken? I think we all would like that.
That would be easy. Thank you. And see, I'm not a gamer. There's parts of me, I think, I'm a surgeon, right? And I do robotics. And it's
so
kind
Operation.
Of like gaming. Yeah. I think we should bring Operation in there. Like
that'd be
big,
awesome.
Full body size.
That would be
cool,
so
right?
fucking cool.
They do. They have them. This is something to think about. Okay, we're working on that one. There's going to be a great bar. All the great Port-a-Pints brews and
beers are delicious.
Our friends are going to be there. We will have.
I might be there.
He will. We'll have an outdoor food court, and the first of the trailers is coming in soon. Get to go through more permit stuff.
Yeah, beautiful.
And it's going to be a venue where you can come and listen to some good music. Sometimes you can. We'll probably expand. I'm going to guess trivia over there at some point. It's going to kind of evolve on its own as a place to have a good time.
No, man, that'll be so cool. Like, we have an exceptionally beautiful harbor, and I think that it should be more enjoyed by tourists that come through here.
Makes total sense.
Yeah, and I think we'll probably keep comedy night. We think it's going to keep comedy night.
This is
here.
the place for
this
comedy
is the
night,
comedy
yeah.
night. This is the room. This is the location. But bigger comedy shows, you never know. Maybe doing them there might make some good sense.
How's the comedy show going?
How many shows going? It's going.
Weren't you going to do a just our Sundays?
I know. I know. I know.
It's not like you have your hands full.
Yeah. So
that'll be for another
Russell
show.
and I are in communications on what's going to happen with that. I was hoping to do a big thing, and then several things happened in life that kind of, pulled me in different directions. So now honestly, this week is the first week where I felt like I'm finally starting to tread water. Because I feel like I've been I've been sick. I've been switching jobs. I've been just having,
real life.
Yeah, real life, which is why I haven't really had that many episodes. I missed 2 or 3 Sundays of Salty Sundays, which is uncharacteristic of me. I've missed a few open mics. I've just been.
It's been really hard for me.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, you care, right?
I care, and I love you, and I want you to know that we're treading water. So we're swimming, and with that being said, Russell and I are talking about the thing. It might still be happening. It might not. We might have to reschedule it. We want it to happen. It's definitely going to happen, but it's just a matter of when. We want to make sure we put on a good show for the people.
I agree, but that is. I'm just excited that you're still thinking that that's going to happen or something's going to happen.
Yeah. No, I want us to have good comedy shows at Porta Pints, and I want the people, the community, to come in and see, hey, we got a great venue for comedy here. And we have some great comedians some local comedians that are really trying their best. Shout out to Michael Cordova. He just performed at Inateca last night.
Oh, good.
I think that Michael is a shining example of comedy in Crescent City.
Yeah.
He's a guy who gives it his all. He's just a good guy. I could really see him having a future in comedy.
Yeah.
He's a funny dude.
He's focused, hardworking.
Yeah,
puts his life into it.
He puts his life into it.
I see his work. His
his
ethic,
woman is fully supportive of him.
Yeah,
and
that's cool too. That always matters, right? Ladies, you got all that power.
Yeah, if your lady doesn't support you in anything you do, it ain't gonna happen.
Because it's not gonna happen. Happy wife, happy life.
There's too much friction.
Happy gal.
It really feels like his lady is fully supportive of what he's doing. Feels like he wants to do it, and a lot of that's thanks to Drake. Drake, I give him a lot of shit whenever I do my open mic nights.
That's our job.
Because that's my job. But Drake, if it wasn't for Drake, there would be no comedy in Crescent City locally.
There is nothing funny in Crescent City.
Yeah, there's nothing funny about here.
We do like you, Drake. We love you, Drake.
We love you, Drake.
Where are you?
Yeah, where the hell are you? Oh, he's supposed to be on. We might.
You're on tonight.
We might. No comedy tonight. I don't know why. He texted me and told me that today. Why isn't there comedy tonight?
I have no idea.
Is there a show going on?
No idea. He's been busy with the Kamomi thing, but I don't think he's doing anything tonight.
No, there.
Are you up for comedy? Did other people get notified that I wasn't notified?
He texted me yesterday. Said
this is very sad.
He texted me yesterday saying there's no comedy, but I'm sure you already know that. I think there might be something going on here tonight.
It's feasible.
Yeah.
And I, as an owner, should know that.
Yeah.
But realistically, I had 2 babies last night.
Yeah.
I didn't,
But he did.
Yeah, I can't do it.
So,
I don't know.
So, Kirk, is there anything you want to talk about? Is there anything that you want to let people know or ask me or any of the... What do you think? What's on your mind?
It's really... Because I live so much in the moment, it's kind of doing the things and experiencing the processes that I'm involved in. So it's... seeing Porta Pints be a success and continue something good for this community and the people who work here. It's looking at the bowling alley and similarly, it's looking at that as a continuing success and doing what it's supposed to do to give entertainment and happy kids, and happy people and just a good experience and be sustainable. Growing this, what is a beautiful, we've talked about it a lot of times. This is such a beautiful pub.
I work here now, by the way. Salty Sundays family. I now am a bartender at Porta Pints. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday night. Come see me. Come get some delicious beers and get the Salty Sundays
He's pretty
vibe
good too. He's pretty damn good.
I'm decent.
You can ask him about his tattoo too.
You can ask me about my tattoo. You can ask me about my.
He may not answer.
Anything else. I'll answer, maybe.
Yeah, it depends on how busy it is, I guess.
Yeah.
Anyways, it is a pleasure to have you here as a friend, if I can go that far.
Yeah, we're friends.
I believe so.
I think we are.
Because we care about each other, it seems.
And we could talk, and we talk.
Yeah,
I mean,
talk about life,
we
talk about
talk.
shit.
You and I give each other shit. We talk honestly with each other.
Yeah.
I think that's a hallmark of a friendship.
I think it is.
If I couldn't be honest with you, I don't think I'd be able to consider you a friend, and I feel like I'm 100% honest with you.
I thank you. That's very cool. That makes life so much easier when you can be in a relationship and trust the process, you know.
Yeah.
That's true for all of our relationships. I just feel like we're doing some good stuff. There's great people like yourself that have joined us and have things outside of us that, like yourself, that blossom. And it's just there's a lot more that's going to happen here, Porta Pints, at the bowling alley.
Yeah.
We'll find new ways to keep bringing stuff to you guys that maybe will help you, and in turn you guys will help us.
Heck yeah, man. That's what it's all about. We got to raise this community up. We got to...
Rising tides.
Rising tides. I think that Crescent City, I think we're about to be experiencing a nice... I don't think population growth, but I think we're going to be experiencing a mental growth of the community with people investing mentally into the community.
That's a good point. You asked if there was anything to mention. So I'm a doctor, primarily. That's what I do. I'm really happy that we are moving forward with the empath, is what it's called. It's a medical psychologic something. I don't even know what it stands for. That's terrible. I'll be back to you. But it's basically mental health, psychological health for this community at the hospital for acute issues, to really help get people through a system it's tough. You find these people who have psychological, primarily drug, alcohol related challenges and or psychological challenges, induced or primarily any of those three things. When they come to the ER, it overwhelms the system.
Right.
And it's one of the reasons why I think people in our community have struggled with the ER at Sutter Coast historically. And I think a lot of those things have improved.
Totally.
But pulling those patients and giving them a home of their own that can be more focused on their needs.
Hell yeah.
Is the sense of this process. So it
helps everybody out. Helps out the ER nurses, the doctors, and
the patient.
And the patient, because the patient's like, well, I don't know if I should be going into a room here where trauma care is happening, but I have something going on up here that needs.
Or even if they aren't capable of making that assessment and decision because of the impairment or because of where they are in a bipolar or manic episode, right? Whatever that is, being able to get them into the right channeled, efficient care system is the goal of the empath process. That brings new psychologists, more telehealth with psychiatrists, because it's extremely difficult to get a psychiatrist here.
It is.
In person. It's sad, but extremely challenging just based on the economics of this place.
Yeah.
It's small. There's not enough.
I faced that challenge before too.
Yeah. Oh no. And we exactly. And you are sadly not alone. There's so many people who face that process here, trying to find someone either for behavioral health therapy or medical treatment of psychiatric disease. They're both truly challenging things that we're starting, not going to solve them overnight, but starting to do with this program. And I'm really excited about that.
I think that it could really help people. I think really helping people starts with evaluating what their needs are from a psychiatric's point of view, and not just...
Well, helping people in general, you got to take into consideration one's psychiatric status, their place, right?
Right, because I've gone to the hospital numerous times with panic. I have a panic disorder, so it's like I go to the hospital, I think I'm having a heart attack, It's like, actually what having happening is a mental, some sort of mental break, and it's like to actually be able to receive proper care rather than just like, you know what I mean, overflooding a system that is designed to help people with actual medical, emergency.
Let me infuse that. Actual medical. It's still an actual medical. I mean, one in a panic attack can drive themselves into such a frenzy of catecholamine dumping that they can give themselves a heart attack.
Yeah.
I mean, you're a pretty healthy guy. That's probably not going to happen. But it still feels like
But just for
shit.
instance, it's just like that could, it's like, but no, this is great. No, I'm 100% a fan for that, and I think that's taking a look in the future and figuring out what we need.
You got to always look to the future. That's that goal setting process. It's not expectations. It's set a goal, and then each day, each moment, you work on that goal. It's just like you in this podcast.
Yeah.
It's us doing this place here. It's the bowling alley. It's having a baby, right? Each and every day, we stress about the process of having a baby, but live in that moment. Work within the moment.
Doing a podcast at the bowling alley would be kind of cool.
We should do that.
Should interview Scott at the bowling alley.
That's an outstanding
idea.
idea.
That would be so funny.
Yeah.
And then like, I don't know, like somehow incorporate the bowling into the podcast.
You could just have him like throw 5 strikes in a row or something.
Yeah.
Like, see, this is easy. Come on down.
He's like, it's so easy.
It's crazy watching these guys that can bowl.
It's a great idea. Well, I think we've reached the end of this podcast. And we appreciate having you on.
Thank you. It's kind of a spur of the moment thing. But we got a little philosophical, a little
cathartic.
deep, a little crazy, kind of complain a little bit more than I like to, but
But we appreciate you guys for listening and continuing your support for the podcast. It means everything, and we're hoping to bring you more entertainment, more perspectives from the community, and just better overall content. So couldn't do it without you guys. Thank you. Thank you, Doctor.
Cheers.
We appreciate having you, and we'll have you on again sometime soon. Cheers.
You got nothing in there.
I got one drop.